It started when I moved into the old house at the edge of town. I'd gotten it for a steal, which should have been my first clue that something wasn't right, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. All I saw was the potential: high ceilings, beautiful crown molding, and a spacious backyard that backed up to the woods. It was everything I could have wanted, and for a young woman starting over, it felt like a fresh beginning. The first couple of nights were uneventful. I spent most of my time unpacking and arranging furniture, but by the third night, I started noticing things. It began with small, almost dismissible oddities. The sound of footsteps on the second floor when I was downstairs, lights flickering despite new bulbs, and an uncanny chill in the hallway outside my bedroom. I chalked it up to the house's age. Old houses make noise, I told myself. Old wiring can be temperamental. I even convinced myself the cold spots were just drafts. Then, on the fifth night, I found the messages. I was organizing the built-in bookshelves in the living room when I noticed something carved into the wood on the inside of the cabinet. At first, I thought it was just graffiti left by a previous tenant, but as I leaned closer, I realized it wasn't random scribbles. It was a single word: leave. The carving was deep and jagged, as if whoever did it wanted to make sure it would never fade. My stomach twisted, but I tried to play it cool. Maybe it was a prank or something left by a frustrated handyman. I covered it with a book and moved on. The next morning, I woke up to find muddy footprints in the hallway leading from the back door. My heart dropped. I knew I'd locked the door before going to bed. The footprints were large, too large to be my own, and they ended abruptly at the bottom of the staircase. I searched the entire house, heart pounding with every creak of the floorboards, but I found nothing. No sign of forced entry, no one hiding in a closet, just those footprints, as if whoever made them had vanished into thin air. By this point, I was shaken but still trying to rationalize everything. Maybe I'd forgotten to lock the door. Maybe an animal had gotten inside somehow, though the size and shape of the prints made that unlikely. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard it, a soft, rhythmic tapping coming from the wall behind my headboard. It wasn't the sound of pipes or settling wood. It was deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, heart racing, and stared at the wall. It stopped. The next morning, I found another message. This time, it was on the fogged-up mirror in the bathroom. A single word, traced in the condensation. Soon. I barely slept that night. Every creak of the house, every whisper of the wind outside, set my nerves on edge. I'd planned to call someone, the police, maybe a locksmith, but I was too afraid they'd think I was crazy. What would I even tell them? That my house was haunted? That someone was breaking in just to leave cryptic messages and muddy footprints? I'd sound insane. A week later, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The tapping behind my headboard had become louder, more aggressive. It now came at all hours of the night, and then there was the smell, a sickly, metallic odor that seemed to seep out of the walls. No amount of cleaning or air fresheners could get rid of it. One night, I decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight and a crowbar, I pried open a section of the wall where the tapping was the loudest. As the plaster crumbled away, I revealed a hollow space between the studs. Nestled inside was an old, tattered journal. The leather cover was cracked and brittle, and the pages were yellowed with age. It belonged to someone named Eleanor, and as I flipped through the entries, my unease deepened. Eleanor had lived in the house decades earlier, and the journal detailed her descent into paranoia. She wrote about hearing whispers, seeing shadows, and finding messages, much like the ones I'd been encountering. Her last entry read, "I can't escape it, it's in the walls, watching, waiting." That was when the power went out. I froze, clutching the journal like a lifeline as the darkness enveloped me. My flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows on the walls. And then I heard it. A low, guttural growl coming from the hallway. I don't remember climbing the stairs, but suddenly I was in my bedroom, slamming the door shut and barricading it with a chair. My phone was dead. No explanation. It just wouldn't turn on. I sat there in the dark, listening. The growling turned into whispers, multiple voices, speaking in a language I didn't recognize. They were getting closer. Then, silence. For what felt like hours, I stayed curled up in the corner of my room, every muscle in my body tense. When the sun finally rose, I ventured downstairs. The house was eerily still, but as I walked into the kitchen, I saw it. Another message, this time scrawled in what looked like blood, on the refrigerator door. "You were warned." That was it. I grabbed my car keys and left without looking back. I didn't care about the money I'd spent or the belongings I left behind. I just needed to get out. I moved in with a friend and tried to rebuild my life, but the house still haunts me. Sometimes, I wake up to faint tapping on the walls or find words written in the steam on my bathroom mirror. And then there are the dreams, always the same. I'm standing in the woods behind the house and something is watching me from the shadows. I never see it, but I can feel its presence, heavy and malevolent. Perhaps there was something in the dream last night. Last week I got a package in the mail, no return address. Inside was Eleanor's journal, the one I'd left behind in the house. The last page had been altered. Scrawled beneath her final entry in fresh black ink were 4 words. The words next to many others that hadn't made it to the entry had been numbered in grave letters. Murder, sister. You can't run. And now, as I'm telling you this, I hear it again. The tapping, coming from the wall behind me. And I'm afraid to turn around, like